Hey everyone, it's Josh, Z50 Minis, Orlando, Florida. This has come back from paint now, so we're ready to start assembling it. Everything came out really nice with the paint job. I got the engine built. It's going to be a 108 stroker based off the Honda block from TBparts. So we're just going to go ahead and start doing the assembly. The date on this bike is 10 of 69, so actually it's 1970. Go through, I got the seat pan I'm doing, got new foam for it, got it powder coated black, so it's original tan. These are all media blasted, so I'm going to go ahead and get these polished back up. So they're start from very clean metal, and then we'll get them polished for the hubs. Got a nice seat cover that I'll be putting on too, and we got the battery tray that was powder coated too to black. Here's another little close-up of the tank. Really nice crisp line. I do have the guy paint underneath here to kind of, you know, they dipped the tank originally, so you always have your lower color of the tank has some form of dip marks from how they processed the paint job originally, so I just have them painted underneath the same color that there's a lower color on the tank. Original headlight bucket that was in great shape. And then we have our fork, front fork tube over here. I did have to do a repair. We did some welding. Can't really tell, but those threads were all chewed up. So we did some welding and rebuilt the metal, and then ran a tap or a die down it. And we're going to reuse the original front forks. Oh yeah, I forgot I had this box right in front of me. I didn't even think about it. So we got all some original parts all re-chromed, the fenders, exhaust. We got the handlebars and some other items in there. Alright, so I got my frame. It's on the stand. I'm going to start assembling it. If you guys didn't know, I made a stand out of a Rockwell jaw stand they call it, not the jaw horse, the jaw stand. This is the basic jaw stand. It's not the XP version. And then I had a top mount fabricated that slips right in the tube, so you get your frame on it. Very sturdy. You can raise it up and down and rotate it as you build it. But anyways, first order of operation for any of these bikes, CT70s, Z50s, Softails, and the Hardtails, is once you start getting ready to assemble, you can work on the front end, get your front fork on, then you're going to want to put your fender on the fork, and then the same thing with the back, put your rear fender on first, and then start building around it. So my tip with the hardtail fenders is, you know, you got a mount here on the fender, and then a mount here on this rigid back arm here. So loosely mount all your, get your fender in there, and then loosely make sure you can get all your bolts in place enough to hold it and secure it. So don't tighten down these first and then try and come back and put these in, because some of these fenders or the frames can be slightly askew and it will make it real difficult. So leave the fender pretty loose and make sure you get all 4 bolts in, and then go ahead and tighten them down. Next we're going to do the taillight bracket and the Honda taillight, but let's take note of the wiring schematics on the 69 and 70. As you can see in the back taillight, it actually has a ground to frame, so you're going to make sure that the taillight bracket, I have mine powdered, so I'm going to grind just a little bit away right there. I made a little contact area for that bolt that's going to hold the taillight on, and then I ground a little bit off back here that's going to attach to the frame, and then I kind of clean this up a little bit so there's better contact. And I also went and chased this thread so that any paint or powder or whatever wouldn't inhibit the continuity. So you got to make sure you are able to get that taillight to get back to frame as a ground. Okay. Careful, you can't even see where I ground away. Everything's covered underneath the washer nut, and same for the other area. But your next step is the continuity test. So grab yourself a voltmeter, get yourself set on the continuity setting on your voltmeter. Is ground test from there to, I ground this off for the coil mounts. So if you can hear that, I'm getting my beep, so I'm definitely getting continuity through the frame. I'll get the front end assembled as far as the top forks, triple trees. You got 21. You can't modify this bearing setup as far as putting like a roller taper bearing setup in it. There's nothing out there in the market, so we have to use the original setup if you do like to put the roller bearings. It's not available, or taper bearings. I'm gonna stop here as far as assembly goes. I gotta go refocus on the hubs, the brake covers for the hubs, the top plate for the handlebars, and get that stuff polished, and then I'll come back and put the front forks, rebuild the forks, so we can get some before and after. These are rough casting now. They've been metal oxide blasted, so they're real rough. Get them all, those aluminum parts all polished up. It was a long day yesterday. I had 3 bikes I did worth of polishing, so by the time I was done I was super dirty and just a lot of tedious work. Built the fork legs, put all new lower boots. I'm using a Delrin bushing instead of So on this setup, these are so like close tolerances on these fork legs with this Delrin bush, and I'm gonna take a little grinder and grind off a little bit of this pen here, so that these will not go unless it's like completely flush. I'll link you to the shock or the front fork rebuild video and explain how to orient that, but that needs to face this way. These are a little tight when they go in, so I might have to kind of tap them up, these bushings, but I'll try my best just to slide it in. I'm going to go ahead and put my top plate on. Bolt in just to hold my leg. Bushing went in pretty good, just straight up, and then I was able to tighten, but this one's a little tighter. So my advice to you guys whenever you're banging around these bikes is to always just tape off any surface after it's been painted or powder coated, just to prevent any scratches. So I put a good layer of tape here and on my aluminum cap, and then I'm just gonna, if you guys choose to use the Delrin bushing, I'm just gonna use a little tap. I'm just gonna tap this till it completely seats itself. Alright, so that's the front fork assembly installation. If you're using the OEM fork legs, these are re-chromed. So we have this for the brake. You obviously see how that needs to go. But on this left side front fork, there's a little drain hole, a little weep hole built into these. So make sure that hole faces inward too when you're installing it, and that comes into account when you're also putting your top back on when you're rebuilding it. So the weep hole faces in, and then your nub needs to be on this side, on the same side as the weep hole. To kind of clarify why I put those bushings in, is because what you'll find is that there's some fore and aft, a lot of play, and And when you put those bushings in, it really reduces the amount of movement that your fork leg's going to be doing. And then when you really notice when there's play in this is when you hit the brakes, you'll feel the whole front end shift under load. So that bushing helps eliminate that whole sensation. And the short obviously is going to be in the back towards the engine, and the longer shroud comes out over the wheel. So that's the way you put it on. So I got the bike, you know, probably say about 85% there. Nothing too crazy left. I'm gonna have a few parts and pieces. I gotta get the engine installed, and then the chain cut and that adjusted. So I went with for the 108, since we're using the stock muffler. Not TBparts, but CHP sells a larger bore pipe, or at least it's not kinked here like the factory pipe. So I'm gonna run that pipe into the re-chrome stock muffler, get the 108cc stroker engine in, get the tank on, finish up the badges, put some decals on it. I do need to find some long bolts for this headlight bucket. I thought I had them, but I gotta go dig through some parts bins. Hopefully I have those. And then seat built, and that's where we'll get start off on the next video, part 3 of this bike build. I'll have the engine in and everything ready to do the testing on the street tuning. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Please subscribe. I'll see you later.